If you knew what your true yes was and what your true no was in all areas of your life, would you be able to choose faster and easier? What futures would those choices create? Everyone is capable of connecting to their bodies in a way to have more exuberant and joyful living now and in the future. Now, here is your host of Choosing a Different Future with Siris.
Hi, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And I am really excited about today's topic. It's when kink or polyamory doesn't work. We had to reschedule this episode a couple times and it's finally here. So thank you for your patience for this topic. And I'm excited to have y'all in the live chat. So come on in to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com/chat room so you can chime in, ask questions, and you can do it anonymously. Today too, I want to make sure that we're really going to get into the aspects of the show that are about communication and relationships. Our show is all about where we are trying to choose something beyond what's been projected or expected of us, perhaps beyond the models or the examples that we've had in our lives. And there's nowhere where I've personally done this more than in my relationships, particularly with polyamory and being kinky and being all of these different things that we're going to get into. And I love chiming into people and chiming in to other people's perspectives and also hearing from people and having their questions, especially if you're kind of new and exploring this. My experiences are personal that I'll be sharing, but also I've been working with people around this for many years now, probably since I was a teenager, but unofficially, and then professionally my whole career. So this has been something that I really love talking about, and you will probably perceive that as I geek out on some of the things that I'll be sharing with you today. This is also really important because we have people that sent in some questions. And if you have any questions, since I am also working very closely with a lot of families, if you have any questions about how this can play out in a family dynamic, go ahead and message me. Go ahead and join in on the chat room if you're listening live, and you can email me at empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com if you catch this later on as a replay, because I am continually love hearing the feedback and these questions and how these are showing up. Families are constantly evolving, relationships are constantly evolving, and so there might be a question that I haven't heard yet, and I love it when that happens. I'm like, let's look at that. So this is going to be fun. Just so you know as well, thank you for all the great feedback in our last couple episodes. Thank you for a lot of the love and caring through all of the different family members passing that I've been mentioning to you. I really am proud of myself for continuing to show up for y'all and for this show, and for this to provide a space for me to have a sense of joy, to have a reason to get up and geek out about things. And it definitely helps with the grieving process and just with all of the stress that has been going on. So I hope that this episode is that for you as well today, a bit of a yummy treat, and just something to maybe pique your curiosity as well. So if you have any questions, again, jump into the chat room. This is going to be really, really interesting and really, really fun. We already have some people in the chat room. Hi. So let's go ahead and get into it. So today, when kink and polyamory doesn't work. So I'm going to read the description to you. I want to see what you think about this. Notice how your body feels as you're listening to this. Notice how your breathing is affected or not by what I'm saying. So have you played with kink or polyamory? What have your experiences been? I'm so curious. And what do you do when a play scene goes awry or when there's a breakup in your polycule? And if you don't know what polycule is, we were going to get into it. If it doesn't just affect you, these breakups, but multiple people, homes, or spaces. So it's important to have ways to navigate these situations with more ease. Preparation, self-awareness, and communication are all key to this, in addition to having a more informed and nuanced perspective beyond right and wrong or in good and bad. So in this episode, I will be weaving my personal experiences in here, and and what I've seen as a body relationship coach and a therapeutic energy worker. I'm going to discuss a framework for kink and polyamory that includes connection and conscious communication. And also, if you're willing, it'll also include how to create pleasurable, healthy, and fun. Is that allowed? I know. Fun, intimate encounters and futures beyond the complicated breakups. So, this is also coming from the Exuberantly You in Relationship series, which is a self-paced course that you can check out. And the information for that is in the episode page and also on my website at empoweringlightlanguage.com/exuberantlyu. Let's get into it. So what have your experiences been with poly and with kink? So I put them both here today in today's discussion because for me, they're very much a lot of overlap. There hasn't really been relationships I've been in where it's either one or the other after 2014. Before that, there's definitely kink. I've basically probably been kinky since as long as I can remember, since I was in middle school. I can think of different scenarios and things that I was really curious about and interested in that no one was talking about, that I was exploring on my own. And then as I got older and we're having more conversations with people, I was like, oh, I'm not the only one that's like this weirdo about this stuff. That's like a little bit different about these things. Okay, cool. Awesome. And after high school, actually, some of you know, we talked about this in the Is Polyamory for You episode. And if you haven't checked that out, check it out. But I remember asking my high school boyfriend, hey, I love you. And if you're out there, you know who you are. Hi. Hey, I love you. I absolutely adore you. And I can totally see a life with you. And I don't want our relationship to be the only relationship that I have for the rest of my life. So I remember talking to him in high school about opening things up, about us dating other people. And I had never seen that really in anybody, in any place that I knew. I had read some things about it. I'm an avid reader, as you know, and as many of y'all know, if you've been listening to the show, I'm often giving tips through books and things like that. And I definitely have some books to recommend today. But I was like, wow, I really want this, and I want other things too. And one of the things that I love about being poly, and you can be poly and not practice poly, is this idea of loving multiple things, loving multiple people. If you have kids and you have more than one kid, you're poly. I didn't know if you got the memo, but you're poly. Like, you love more than one person, you love more than one child. So you're capable of loving and having multiple loves in this way. Now, if you choose to do it or not, I don't have a point of view about it. It's totally your call. But I have a very inclusive definition or inclusive look at what polyamory is. It, at its truest form, it is loving multiple people and being in love with multiple people. And so I remember asking this of my high school boyfriend, and then moving forward, and we ended up breaking up, not related to this. We never really got to try out poly, but I had it in the back of my mind. And then the next relationship happened, and I would mention it, and they would be like, yeah, I'd like to explore it. But let's have a foundation in monogamy and know who we are and how we communicate first. And I was like, great, that makes sense. But then we would break up before I could explore it. So this pattern happened over and over again until finally I was like, I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm not going to wait to explore this with a partner because I am kinky. I've got to explore that. I'd love to see what else is out there. I knew there was way, way more that I could try out and explore. And I also was like, if I keep waiting for a partner to be ready, I may not ever get to do this. And this may be relevant to some of y'all, where you're interested, you're curious about this, and you're waiting for permission, you're waiting for their sign off, you're waiting for them to accompany you to your first event where you get to talk to other poly people or talk to other kinksters. And my advice on that is please don't wait. Please don't wait. You can go on your own. You can let them know who you met and what you talked about, and that might make it more likely for them to come at the next event. But at least you're not putting your life on hold. At least you're not putting this thing that you're curious about to the wayside for who knows how long. And next thing you know, you're like, wait, I never got to try this thing. I was really fortunate. I started dating at 11. Yes, I did. And I had all these wonderful people that I had monogamous relationships with. I'm very good at monogamy. And no matter what type of relationship dynamic I'm in, I'm really good at whatever we agree upon. I like the guidelines. I like the communication. And just because you want something different or something more doesn't mean you're not grateful for what you have. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Now, how does this get into some of these breakups, some of these situations where things can go left? Well, fast forward, I started exploring kink in publicly more in different play spaces around Chicago. Chicago has a great kink scene. At any day of the week, you can go to some kind of event, either a munch, which is where kinksters fully clothed in a public restaurant, they just meet up and they're eating and having drinks at a restaurant. That's why it's called a munch. Yum, 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 yum. And or you could go to a slash, which is at a bar, and you're just talking. You're talking as people, and people ask you, what are you into? And you can let them know if you know, or you could be like, I'm not so sure yet. I'm just kind of figuring it out. And people meet you where you're at. And it's such a beautiful, welcoming, supportive space. I was super, super lucky to have started my more public kink journey in Chicago, of all places, because it's just such a great city for that. And so there I got to meet some amazing people that I'm still in touch with, including my first poly partner, the first person that I actually got to explore poly with. Instead of it being this theoretical experience, I got to actually play it out. And he was living with his ex at the time. They couldn't afford to part. She couldn't afford to live on her own quite yet. So they were still living together. But they were completely not romantically or sexually connected anymore. And then he was also dating somebody else that I got to get to know. And over the course of our dating, I decided to have a conversation with the other person he was dating. And it was a woman. So this is the man that I met, and then it was a woman that he was dating. And we started like really being interested in each other as well. And we decided to create a triad. So instead of it being that multiple loves, multiple dating is happening, we actually decided that the three of us were going to date each other individually and together. And I'm so, so glad that I chose to do it that way, because I got to really be present with each person instead of just being like the chaos, the the whirlwind of the three of us together. And it was a whirlwind even with me doing this. It was quite the whirlwind. I was really grateful that I was able to know each person individually and really nurture each relationship. And so when things went differently than I initially expected after a very adventurous, delicious, really fun summer of 3 months of all these different events and all these different things that we were doing, I really got to be clear on what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And so I'm going to speak to that after this upcoming break. Okay. You're listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we will continue to discuss when kink and polyamory doesn't work. We'll be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris, and today our show topic is when kink or polyamory doesn't work. Our show is brought to you by Protanden's Tri-Synergizer. Take advantage of the important contribution from every Protanden supplement. You get comprehensive benefits, including support for healthy aging, optimal cellular energy, improved mental focus, and healthy longevity. It's a level of benefits you can only get from teamwork. I love, love, love this product. I've been taking it for over 5 years, and it's been super helpful for me. I lost a ton of weight after taking it, water weight. I wasn't even planning on losing weight. It helped my kidney functioning. It helped me dissipate all the stuff from my liver from all of the different other supplements I've taken. It all is processed by our livers. All the antibiotics and the nose spray and the inhalers I was taking for so many years when I was rebuilding my immune system, all those residual things that are stuck in our bodies, it moved that all out. And my organs are definitely functioning better. And I know that with all of the oxidative stress of me working out so much, this really helps that because it clears 1 million free radicals a day with just one pill. So love, love, love this. It's amazing. And definitely check out our episodes page to find out more. And so before we went on the break, y'all, I was talking about my beginnings with poly, right? And we got some great comments in the chat. I'm going to read some of them. It says, I've seen a number of poly relationships crash and burn in horrible ways. I've also seen some healthy ones. I believe that a lot relies on communication, setting expectations, healthy boundaries, and willingness. Willingness to step away because it's not working, quote unquote, not working anymore. I prefer monogamy mainly because I cannot imagine trying to keep up with more than one. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Yeah, and here's the thing about that is a lot of people, because it's not as common yet, it's becoming more common. It's been discussed more than before. This has existed for the entirety of human existence, but now it's being discussed more. We're actually getting some more nuanced representation. I would love to have better representation. Like I was talking to Justin and I was like, I would love to create a reality show that's a poly reality show that's actually like nuanced and healthy and fun. Or a game show, like a poly game show, because I love game shows and my dream is to be a game show host. Like that would be super, super fun. So if anyone's connected to like a TV network that isn't our Inspired Choices network, because they don't have game shows yet, maybe that's something for us to talk about, Christine. Then let me know because I would love to create that. And part of what happens is that people just see all of these breakups, all of the dramas, and that's the only thing that they see with poly and open relationships is the crash and burn. And even though they have that in monogamous relationships, people don't use that to say, well, that's why it doesn't work. You see, they broke up, so monogamy doesn't work. People don't say that about monogamy, and yet it absolutely happens all the time. There's just as much, if not more, crash and burn in some instances. From my experience, certainly my family, than in poly relationships. It really comes to experience. And I love this comment in the chat about communication as well. Says here, someone else said a communication is great, but it also needs to come with understanding as well. A person can communicate all they want, but if the other party doesn't understand, and or isn't retaining what was said, then nothing comes from that. Understanding is the true key, in my opinion. Wow, great stuff. Great discussions in the chat. You definitely want to chime in here and come into the live chat, y'all. This is cool. Okay, I'm going to address some of the other things in the chat in a moment. So I was talking about my first triad. So here's what happens. It's interesting, and yet I think that the synchronicity is not a mistake. It's not like a coincidence at all, because right when I started the triad that same year was when I started doing different kinds of energy work than I had been doing before that. So it's like I had been doing Reiki, which was one of my first introductions and to energy work, and some shamanism, and then I started the triad and I got to learn about access consciousness and theta healing. This was all that same year. And so it was this huge up leveling in adding to the treasure chest that is my energetic tools. And so I got to then connect with myself and my body even more. And I think that's really, really important. In addition to what's been mentioned in our chat room by our awesome listeners, that if you aren't connected with your body and yourself, it's a lot harder for you to have the communication that so many people are chiming in about, saying that it's really important. Absolutely. I've always loved communicating. And even then, I know that there's still growth that I can explore and have with my communication, because with each person I interact with, I have to communicate differently. So I have to consider, and instead of being shifting and changing who I am depending on who I'm talking to, and using my gifts and capacities, and I know I'm not the only one that does this, as a shapeshifter against me, I can use it for me. So I can still be who I am, and not in a solid heavy way, but just in a very present way, and know the nuances of, okay, with this person, I need to be a lot quieter. With this person, I need to wait more, or I need to give more explanation. With this person, they want things very succinct and short. Okay. And adapting that way. And so one of the things that I loved and learned about myself through poly is I got a lot more practice code switching to how each person needed me to communicate and what was required for each person. And it had this beautiful rippling out effect to how I interacted with my friends, and how I interacted with people in my family and at work. So that was a huge contribution. So the first thing I would recommend, if you haven't already done so, is to really look at, are you connected with yourself? Are you connected with your body? Do you have that yes and no that we've been talking about with our bodies in all these other episodes? And if not, please check in with your yes and no today and every day to see what that is for you, and to use that to say, okay, is it time for me to mention this to somebody or not? And yes and no is it's going to work now, or it's not going to work now. It's positive. It'll be amazing. It might be uncomfortable still, and vulnerable and tricky, but it's going to create more. If you get a yes, it'll create more for you to do it in that moment that you get the yes, versus trying to force it when you get that no. But it has no agenda, your yes and no. It doesn't have all of the limiting patterns. It's not based on what your family or your friends are telling you to do. It's really about what's going to truly, truly work for you and for everybody that's involved in that conversation or in that interaction. So the other comment in the chat, I love this, that I really liked here. It says here, I have found discussions to be much healthier and have learned a lot about body autonomy, boundaries, and respectful interactions from people in the poly or S&M world. I find that those are the most comfortable conversations I've had in regard to sex and being human. Immense gratitude. Yeah, I think a lot of people, even before I was publicly poly and publicly kinky and all these different things, people knew that they could talk to me about things because I wouldn't judge them, because I was reading a lot, even though I hadn't experienced it in high school yet myself. I was an avid reader. I was really approachable about these things. I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit about this. And people would be shocked that I hadn't had these experiences, but I would give them ideas and resources and, hey, check out this article. Hey, look at this book. Even when I was like 16, 17, I was doing that. And it just kept going since then. And so I think this other piece of like having a space and being around people that you can freely communicate and talk with is something that I actually missed. I missed that so much when I was living in Savannah, Georgia, that the scene there isn't as active. I didn't feel safe there. And then finally with one of my partners that I was with there, we went to Jacksonville, which has a really cool play space. And I got to just sit around and talk with people again in a place where I didn't have to explain myself so much, and where I didn't have to feel like I had to walk on eggshells or be as careful. And I could just say, this is what I'm into, and this is what my dynamic is with my partner, and my partner has these two other partners, and this is what's going on. And just I could feel this tension that I didn't even know I had melt out of my body. And that's, again, that connection to your body is like, I knew I was tense about that. I knew that it wasn't quite the long-term option place for me living in Savannah. I made it work. I have some wonderful friends there. I am still visiting there on a regular basis. And yet for me to live there, given all the aspects and things I wanted as a part of my life, even beyond the kink and poly, it wasn't going to work. But man, when you have that connection, you know, those spaces, you know, those people that help you melt. Now, here's the thing, we're talking about when things go awry. If you're not connected to yourself and your body, when you're doing a play scene, when you're doing a kink scene, it can go really different. It can go things unplanned if you're not picking the play partners or the romantic partners that your body's actually like softens around. Okay. Or interacting with the person that usually it's a yes to be around them, but maybe they're in a bad mood that day, or maybe they need space, and it's a no in that moment for you to interact with them, because both it's not gonna work for either of you. So you have that moment, so you give that space. And this is something that I got to use, thankfully, over and over and over again as I tried electro play, as I tried fire play, as I was having all these different group dynamics. Gosh, I tried, there's flogging. I love flogging, whipping, all these different things, rope bondage, you name it. If you have a connection to yourself and your body, when you're even considering it, you'll be like, is that a yes for me to try it? Or is that a absolutely not my kink? Sorry, but you go have fun. You do you, boo, but you go have fun. So connect to yourself and your body, and you will probably not have a lot of those kink scenes that go left. I actually haven't, I can't say I've had not one that was like, uh-oh, something got on fire, or somebody was hurt, or it went too far. I never had that. I can honestly say I never had that. And again, it was because right when I started doing all these things in different play spaces, I also had all these other tools in my arsenal that helped me be really present with my body. I also didn't choose to drink alcohol or do drugs while doing different scenes. I know that in play spaces, most of them have policies around this that vary depending on which place you go to around the country. I definitely recommend for you to not use any alcohol and drugs when you're doing scenes, especially initially, because you won't know how much pain you're really in, and when to say stop or when to say back off, I need a break. You're not as present with the pleasure you can receive as well. When you're really with your body in those scenes, you can really enjoy those scenes if you want, if that's something that you're interested in. Okay, so just a thought, just an idea. So a lot of the scenes that I've seen that went really left, where someone had like welts or bruises beyond what they wanted, because some people like having marks and some people don't. Some people, they don't even talk about those things before going into scene with somebody, which I don't recommend. I recommend actually having pretty detailed conversations about where you'd like it to go, what's off limits, what's on limits, what are the safe words, before you even go to a play space. But if you pick up somebody at a play space that you want to play with, take the time to have those conversations before you go ahead and you're on the St. Andrew's cross, before you're getting flogged, before you're naked in front of them, or somewhat naked in front of them. You know, all these different things are super, super important. Okay, we have somebody that sent in some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and take our next break now. And then when we come back, we're going to address some of these questions that were sent in. Okay. I'm excited to address these. Thank you for sending them in. So you're listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, with myself, Siris, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we will continue to discuss when kink or polyamory doesn't work. We'll be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our show topic is when kink or polyamory doesn't work. Wow, we're going all over the place with this one. I love it. But before we get to continue on, our show is brought to you by Protanden's Tri-Synergizer. Take advantage of the important contribution from every Protandin supplement. I love, love, love this product. I've been taking it for over 5 years, as I mentioned before. And so is my sister, my brother, my mom, my boyfriend. Like, everybody is taking this product right now. I have my aunts and uncles taking this product. It was a huge game changer for us during the pandemic. So grateful for it boosting our immune system and really undoing a lot of the stuff that we'd experienced before taking the product. And then now I get to take it as maintenance to make sure that I'm undoing all of the oxidative stress that my body's going through all the time. And if you don't know about oxidative stress, message me. We can have a bit of a chat. It's really important for you to know about. And go ahead and check out the episodes page or sirisrivas.lifevantage.com to check out the products there. Hopefully you're joining us in Chicago. We're going to be in Chicago Saturday, November 4th for the Awakening class. The theme is coming home to you, having more of you. And you can join us in person in Chicago. I would love it, or live streaming anywhere around the world. But you know you want to come to Chicago and play, right? You know you want to come and play. Yes, please do. So that's going to be really fun. We have a great space available. It's this really cool Airbnb that we're going to be that we've rented out for the class, and there's a lot of great shops around. So I'm really excited about that, and I get to hang out with my family and friends before and afterwards. So how does it get any better than that? We also have the Expansive Energies group. It's our self-care group. Go ahead and check it out. Our October theme is all about honoring and celebrating ancestral wisdom. And so we have this group Therapeutic Energy Work where we get to get coaching and we get to talk about all the things that come up, or not talk at all and just receive. And for those of you out there that are givers, that are healers, that are always taking care of other people, this is an opportunity for you to be in a group where you just get to receive for once and make sure you're prioritizing your self-care and filling up your cup so that you can be there for yourself and for others, even in a better way, in a more fulfilled way. And we have our Being a Different Possibility monthly calls. Our next one is October 23rd on family and money. That's a virtual call at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then we're going to be talking about financial literacy and health. And then come live in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're having a meet and greet on October 29th. The information is also on our Facebook page in our events. So check it out. You're going to have a great time. And I'm going to be dressed up in a costume for it because it's Halloween time, October 29th. It's pretty close. All right. So questions that were sent in. Loving this. Okay. So someone here said, okay, here it is. How do you deal with jealousy after a breakup? I'm jealous of the connection my partner had with his ex. I know he loves me, and yet there were so many things my guy did with his ex that he hasn't done with me, and it messes with my head. I don't know from this question what type of dynamic that you're in. So maybe because it's the poly kink relationship, you're open or poly, maybe you're monogamous, maybe you identify as poly, but you're not practicing yet. Whatever it is, this isn't unique to open and poly relationships. And so I love this question. Thank you for sending it in. This is something that can happen no matter what type of relationship dynamic you have. So one of the first things I want to know is, have you talked to your partner about how you're feeling, about what's in your head? I mean, maybe write it down first if you're worried about it being like blah, verbal diarrhea all over me, or not, it's going to be all over the place, or if you're worried about crying and getting overly emotional while you're talking about it. But I definitely, if you haven't already done so, talk about it and be really specific. A lot of people, when they mention these things, they're not as specific as they could be. And so it doesn't help the other person know what they could do, if anything, where this is coming from. If it's something that maybe it's about them not mentioning their ex, or them putting away those photos of them, or taking them down from social media, like what are those specific things that would make it easier for you? And see if your partner is willing to do that or not. They get to say no, but they can't say yes or no if you don't ask, if you don't talk to them about it. The other thing that I'm curious about is, what is it about the activities that make you jealous exactly? Or is it that they had this relationship with this person at all? I ask because if it's having this relationship at all, that's a lot harder to tackle, because we all have a past. We all have had other experiences with other people. I remember one of my exes, like he was 10 years younger than me, and very mature in a lot of ways, had his own business, traveled the world, and was so in love with him. Like when we broke up, I was really devastated. I thought I was devastated after my second fiance. No, this one really did me in. And part of it all the more was because he was using my experience to judge me. He was like, I'm never going to have as much experience as you. I'm never going to have done all these different things. And I was like, I don't need you to have had all these experiences. I thought we could leverage that experience to create something really cool together, and we could have some new ones. There's plenty of stuff I still haven't tried, and I certainly haven't done these certain things with you that you're interested in. So what if we went there and we went for it? And so it was really hard to hear that, because we did have really something beautiful, that he later on acknowledged and apologized with how he broke things off. But at the time, it was so hard to hear that something that I can't change, there was nothing I could do anything about, was being used to create this separation, and also to judge him. So he was using my accomplishments, things I was proud of, things that were, I'm a badass about this, like this is something that I do, and saying, oh, I can't do that, or I haven't done that, and so I'm less than. And he recognized that it wasn't that I was making him inferior. It was all the things he was creating in his head. And there was a lot of stress in his life going on at the time. So there was multiple factors. But I'm wondering for you, if it's about that they had an ex at all, or they had all these experiences at all, because honey, they can't change that. I couldn't have changed it. You can't change the exes if you've had. He can't change the exes that he's had. So I hope it's not that, because then that would need a more in-depth conversation that I can't really address completely today. But I definitely want you to look at your confidence level, because it does indicate an insecurity on your part. And that's something for you to look at, the things that can start building up your confidence. And that's one of the things I love to support people through. So reach out if you'd like to build up your confidence, so that it doesn't wig you out quite so much that this person had these other experiences with somebody else. Now, if it's about activities, that is totally manageable, totally doable, because you write down the activities that you're like, man, I wish I could have done that, or that we could do that together, and write them down, the ones specifically, again, that you're interested in doing, that you're like, oh man, we never got to do that, and see which ones that are truly a yes for you to do, that would work for you and your body to do, and then go from there. This is the other side of the breakups, right? The fallout part, like okay, they broke up with this other person, but their baby's still in the weeds, or they're still processing that breakup, and then you're with them. That happens a lot in polycule. So I promise, as promised, polycules is just the multiple people that are involved, like nucleus, like this is the molecule, right? It's coming together. There's this unit of people together. Well, polycule is this unit of at least 2 or more people, right, that are in relationship or in connection in some way. And so my polycule, my most complicated polycule, was me, and then I was dating other people, and then my primary partner at the time had 2 other partners, one of which was his wife, and another partner that they'd been with for many years. And then his wife also had another partner, and the second, third partner, I don't know what number it would be, was also dating other people. So all the central molecule was my ex, my then partner, and his wife, and the 3 partners that he had, including me. And we were in communication with each other, and the things that they were doing sometimes affected us. And when they would consider breaking up, which they did at one point, it definitely had a reverberation throughout the polycule, because you're often supporting your partner through different things, right? But back to your question. So I want to make sure that you're looking at the activities that you can do, and put them on the calendar, like have some accountability, make them date nights, see what would be a good rhythm given all the different other demands in your life. If you have kids, if you have a career that's pretty demanding, look at that. But have this conversation with specificity, and have things ready to go, because your partner's probably going to ask, what can I do? Like, you're so jealous. What is it that I can do? And if you're like, there's nothing for you to do, they're just going to be like, you lay this mess in front of me and you want me to sort through it, but I'm not actually going to get to anything. There's nothing that's going to come from this. And so I'm just going to have this in the back of my head, and I'm going to worry about it, but I won't have any game plan. I won't have a blueprint for how we can soar beyond this. And I'd love for you to be able to soar beyond it. So check that out. And if you're not actually looking at how much of this you're maybe picking up on from his ex, like how much is his ex also jealous of you? And the jealousy that you're feeling, maybe that you're perceiving it from his ex. I've definitely had that as well. Where I'm picking up on the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of my partner's partners, or of my partner's exes. And that's when I use those energetic tools to return it to them, to move it out of my body. And so that might be also something for you to consider, is like, is this even yours? Does this even belong to you? All right. Another question sent in. I love this. My non-ENM family, so ENM is ethical non-monogamy. My non-ENM family and friends don't get why I'm upset about my breakup. They think I brought this upon myself by being in a poly relationship. My ex-boyfriend cheated on me by not following our agreed upon steps to check in before having sex with someone else. For us, if it's someone we both know, we could go ahead and have sex with the person as long as we practice safe sex. He didn't do this. He hooked up with someone that I didn't know and didn't check with me beforehand. I felt so violated, and I would have considered forgiving him, but this wasn't the first time. Whew. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I got it. And how can I make my family and friends see that my loss is just as valid as anyone else's who has a breakup? Baby. Okay. Honey, sweetie, baby cakes. You're right. You're right. Your feelings are valid. And I'm sorry that while you're navigating the energies of this breakup, you're also contending with judgment from people that love you, or that say that they love you, your family may not get it ever. Like perhaps, maybe not ever. If that's not something that they're curious about or interested in, if they're not more open, if they're not asking like non-conclusive questions, like really open-ended questions, educating themselves about this, they may not ever get it. So I'm curious, do you have a support network of people that you can talk to that do get it, that are poly, that are kinky, that do understand where you're going through, that maybe from their own experiences, they might give you some tips. They might just provide a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on. And if you don't have that in your in-person network, maybe check out some of the Facebook groups. There's a lot of groups that are poly groups that people vent in there, or they like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Any tips on this? Can anyone else relate? And there's a lot of people in these groups, like tens of thousands of people in some of these groups. And there's some of them that are even based on area. So if you don't already know people in your area, you may be able to talk with them online. And then when it's a yes for you, if it's ever a yes for you, you can meet in person and maybe talk over some tea or coffee or a cocktail, whatever works for you, and get that support from people that will actually get it. And stop banging your head against the family and friends that just are going to judge you and are not going to get it. They're not right now. And you don't need to expend your energy that way when you can use your energy to heal, to find joy again, to dissipate any of the sadness and that's bringing this up in your world, that's being brought up in your world about this breakup. Okay. Whoa, this is making me stutter, which means there's a lot of charge here. That's what it means when I stutter, y'all. It's usually I'm either really tired, but I'm not today because I got really good sleep, or I'm aware of some friction, some energy about whatever I'm saying. So I guess this is bringing up some stuff for some of y'all, and I hope that helps. The other thing I would also consider getting a non-biased therapist or coach, someone that you can talk to about this, and they can give you some tools and strategies for how to process your grief, how to go through the grieving process your own unique way, and to also handle your family, because potentially if they're judging you about this, maybe they've been judging you about other life choices and things, and you may need to start having some healthier boundaries with them, or be able to communicate with them in a different way so that they can hear you, or that you can feel seen and heard, and you can respect yourself and them. And then also where it's knowing that it's not worth your time and energy, and you can reroute that to something else. So either way, you can do it. You got this, and your feelings are valid. Thank you for sending in the question. All right. It is time for our next break, isn't it? Yep. You are listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we will continue to discuss when kink or polyamory doesn't work. We'll be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you. This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our show topic has been when kink or polyamory doesn't work. And we had some really fun comments. For the person who just sent in a question, there's a beautiful comment that I wanted to share with you from our live chat room. It says, ooh, sorry, your current person is not seeing it as quote unquote real, or your current person isn't being seen as quote unquote real. So many people only take marriage and divorce seriously. Anything outside of that is quote unquote, well, it's not like they were married, as if a piece of paper and a ring are the line that regulates the feelings. Before I finish reading the comments in the chat, I just want to point out this person didn't say if they are married or not. And there's a lot of married, poly, and open people. So don't want to assume that this person is not married. And yet even through that, they might have their trust violated, right? Even if they're married or not married. And you're right. The comment in the chat is trust in any relationship. I agree with that. May you find those that respect and can provide you the trust you need. Great. Excellent. Thank you. So yeah, so got some more people loving on you and hearing you and empathizing with you. So, and I definitely empathize with you as well. Something else I wanted to mention is that when you're in the polycules, we're mentioning that sometimes people are breaking up and getting back together with the same person or new people all the time. And so it also is about checking in with your own self-care, checking in with your boundaries, and having, before you open up your relationship, before you're doing poly with somebody, for you to talk about, and this is the communication piece, for you to talk about and then revisit after each breakup, after each date, periodically, on a regular basis, like truly regular basis. What are the rules? What are the guidelines? Because just because that's what it was at one point doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. And then also talking about what's you would like to know about and hear about and process the person through, and what they need to go to those Facebook groups, to their other friends, to the family that understand, to process it. I unfortunately have had multiple people that I've been with where they were just totally throwing all of their stuff about the other partners onto me, and they wouldn't check on my bandwidth at the time, or they wouldn't check on if I wanted to know, if I was okay to know that. And even when I would say in the past, oh, I don't really want to hear about what you're doing with this person sexually, or I don't want to hear about when you guys are arguing about stuff, especially if it's something that's connected to me, and then they don't listen, that's not a good sign for future interactions with that partner if they're going to keep being in a poly relationship and dating other people, or being in loving relationships with other people. So definitely make sure that that's clear between everybody involved, because that can also make the different breakups that can affect a polycule all the more challenging. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, someone here is asking about hierarchical versus non-hierarchical poly. Yeah, so it's not that it's easier or different to have a breakup when it's hierarchical or non-hierarchical poly. So hierarchical is there's usually a primary, then the secondary person, the tertiary. There's like the one that's like the top. There's the queen bee. If you date women, there's the queen bee. That's the person that's like your top, or maybe it's your wife is the person that you consider your primary. Your live-in partner is your primary, whoever that is. And then maybe the other people are at the same level or secondary, tertiary. That's hierarchical. And so that if there's a conflict in schedule, maybe it's the person at the top of the hierarchy that gets the dibs. Now, non-hierarchical is everybody's on even playing ground. And there's no one person that's above or more important or has a greater say in things than the other person in your life. Now, I've played with both. I definitely have my preferences on that. But one of the things that with playing with both is that a breakup is a breakup, and it's still going to need for you to give yourself time for you to check in on what worked at that relationship and what doesn't before you move into the next one. Giving yourself a lot of space, and also talking with the people that were affected and seeing if things need to be reworked, and if the guidelines and your rules that you've been basing things off of have to change, or maybe they'll stay the same, but you're wiser now from knowing what's not going to work. So I don't think that is actually something where it's easier or harder to deal with breakups if it's a hierarchical or non-hierarchical poly situation. Thanks for asking. Okay. Yeah, awesome. So this is a great show, y'all. Next time we're going to be talking about self-care and communication skills for more joyful breakups. So I got some tips on that, and join us next Friday on that. This has been really, really cool. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing a Different Future show. Siris returns Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, keep choosing what will work for you and your body, your own unique way honoring what will work for you.